Hi, I'm Gabriel,
I'm Samantha.
And I'm Colin.
and we are going to be doing Polynesian mythology, specifically Hawaiian and Maori culture.
Okay, so our pivotal texts are Hawaiian folk tales, a collection of native legend.
Yeah.
Hawaiian folk tales, a collection of native legends, Polynesian mythology, and Maori legends, myths, and contemporary stories by the Ministry of Education of that.
So the Hawaiian creation myth, the Kane, Ku, and Lono, or the Kumulupio, is the triad of gods that called themselves Ku Kuai Kahi, the fundamental supreme unity. The gods existed before anything and broke off into pieces containing Po, which is night or chaos. The Po spread across the universe and created different things and allowed light to come into existence. So with darkness and light. After this, the gods created and had this order of creation. First, the three heavens, which would be their pedestal and where they would live. Then the earth as a footstool. The sun, the moon, and stars, and the spirits to be overseers of these celestial bodies. The first man, molded after Kane, or Kene. And then the first woman and first man. First woman was created from Kane's ribs. Then after that, animals and vegetation. So, speaking of Kane, we have Kane, the creation god, and the sky. Created Kanaola to be the opposite of himself. Other names he's gone by are Kane Holeni, Kane Hikili, Kane Ikiwali, Kane Ikewala Ola, and is said to take the form of freshwater, bamboo, sugarcane, pigs, coconut, taro, and ginger. He's also associated with freshwater streams, pools, and fish ponds. Ku and Hina are said to be the first gods to reach Hawaii from Kariki, and are parents to several figures, most likely progenitors of the Hawaiian people. Ku is the male energies, while Hina is the female. Ku is the god of war, but is also prayed for medicine, fishing, sorcery, rain, and growth. It's said that our right bodies correspond with Ku, while our left of our bodies correspond with Hina. Lono, one of the great gods of agriculture, with signs of him in the heavens being rain, cloud, thunders, lightning, rain, and rainbows. And finally, Kanaola, the god of the deep ocean, sailing of canoes in deep ocean, fishing, and fish ponds. His physical forms include octopi, squid, porpoise, and the banana. Frequently travels along with Kane. Now, for the goddesses, we have Pele and Laka. Pele is the goddess of volcanic activity and an elemental force. It is said to have been born on the distant land of Kahiki and traveled to the Hawaiian Islands in search of a home, with her eventually settling down in Hame'eluma'u at the summit of Kalui'a. It is described like the volcanoes as volatile, being destructive, yet also creative in nature. She is considered to be Ohana to many Hawaiians, as she is Amakua, family or deified ancestor. Laka, on the other hand, is the goddess of the hula, the forest, and is the reproductive energy that makes forests grow and thrive. When entering a forest, it is important to ask for permission to enter.
Okay, so Hawaiian afterlife. It is believed that when one dies, their body and soul separate. Their soul goes on a journey to the spiritual realm that is determined by the god they worshipped and their connection to their ancestors. If a soul was abandoned by its ancestors or lived without guidance of a god, it goes to the Kua, the realm of homeless souls. The most desirable place is Amakua, the realm of ancestral spirits. These spirits can return back to Earth as guardians. Additionally, Hawaiians believe that death is not an end, but a see you later.
So, for the Hawaiian major figures, this was rather difficult to research, as I guess Google hates Hawaiians. But I found the Hukoa Ipo Hawaiian warrior spirits, also known as the Night Marchers, These are spirits of ancient Hawaiian warriors who are believed to march with high-ranking deities near ancient Hawaiian temples or sacred battlegrounds. Maui, as you have seen in our readings, Maui is a very important figure to Hawaiian culture, basically being the Heracles of this culture. He was capable of shapeshifting, super strength, and was very clever. He's credited with many things, but among the most important was his snaring of the sun to make daylight hours last longer, resulting in a longer harvest season. Now, finally, Kamehameha the Great. While not mythological figure, I felt like he was important enough to be included in this, as he's known as the man who united all of Hawaii and founded the Kamehameha dynasty. And while he was an autocratic ruler, he was also progressive in some ways, such as outlawing human sacrifice, and he was noted for being open-minded and being an open-minded individual. However, you may know him you may know of his name not from his deeds, but was named after him.
Okay, so for our Hawaiian tale, we have Myth of the Helu. So there's two twins. One was a boy named Helu Ula, and one was a girl named Helu Uli. They were both born with the power of an unknown origin that allowed them to transform into a Helu fish, and then back to a human at their leisure. One day, the sister, Helu Ilu, decided to go on a journey in the ocean in her fish form without telling anybody. As she continued her journey, she multiplied into many Helu, creating a gigantic school of fish. Once people saw this huge school of fish, they all grabbed their nets and began catching fish. As they did, even more Helu multiplied. They ate the Helu in many different ways, raw, salted, and broiled over coals. While everyone was eating, the brother Helu Ula came in his human form and recognized the fish form of his sister. In anger, he turned into the form of a whirlwind and went through all the houses with Helu inside, blowing all the fish back into the water. Since then, the Helu Uli has had dark scales and is recognized and well known all over the islands.
So for the Maori creation myth. So in Maori creation myth, you have two sort of primordial beings. You have Ranganui, the Sky Father, and Papatuanuku, the Earth Mother. And they are wrapped together in eternal darkness. Now, in Maori mythology, their children, the gods or the Atua, they had always existed, but they were nestled between their two parents. So the Atua want to escape, so they come up with all kinds of ideas. All the Atua try. Taurimatea was the only sibling who had objected to the separation of their parents. And even when you have, remember his name here, Polynesian names are a little complicated. Even one of the brothers, too, I'll use that as a shorter name, he actually wanted to kill his parents. He wanted to kill Ranganui and Papatuanuku. And it was eventually Tane, the god of the forest, who separated them by putting his head against the earth and his legs against his father and separating them. And that's how light came into the world. And Tane is an important figure in being the one who separated them because it also explains the origins of life. And then for Maori gods. So you have Tane Mahuta. He's the Atu of the forest, life, and open space. He was obviously the one who created humanity and gave life into the world, created the first man and separated them. And it's a real quick note, in Maori religion, the gods aren't so much personifications in the Greek stories. They're more like the forest is actually Tane Mahuta. That's who he is. And then you have Tumatuanga. He's the Atua of war and humanity. He was the one that proposed killing his parents instead of just separating them. And later on, when Taurimatea attacks, the one who wanted to keep his parents together, he was the only one who actually fought back, and none of his siblings did. So after the war, as punishment, he basically taught humanity how to conquer siblings. So to conquer Tane, he taught them how to catch birds and chop down trees. To conquer Tangaroa, the ocean, he taught them how to make canoes and fish. And then you have Taurimatea. He's the Atu of storms, hurricanes, and winds. Now, when the Papua and Rangi were separated, he became angry, and as punishment, he sent hurricanes down to chip away at the forest, chip away at land, and as a punishment to his siblings. And then you have Tangaroa, who's the Atu of the oceans, fish, and reptile. Now, I think this is a funny story. When the war between the gods broke out, he had, depending on the myth, in the Grey Book, They don't explicitly say they're sons, but in the Te Ara website from New Zealand government, they are the sons of Tangaroa. His two sons, when the war started, one retreated with him in the ocean to find safety, and they became fish, and the other one retreated with Tane into the forest, and it made Tangaroa mad, and that's where reptiles come from, the ones that fled in the forest. And the last gods you have here, I include them together, Rongo and Hatumia Tikatike. Rongo is the Atua of cultivated crops and peace, and Atua is the wild food and fern root. And the reason I joined them together is because during the War of the Gods, they had actually sought refuge inside of their mother, Papa. And Rongo had got to stay there the whole war, but the god of war, too, had actually come looking for Haumea and ripped them out of the ground. And that's the origin of the fern root and wild food.
So for Maori afterlife, they do not see death as an end, but rather as a spiritual transition. It is believed that the spirit of the deceased lingers inside of them for a few days after death. The spirit then travels to the very tip of the northern island. The journey ends at the Pautakawa tree, and the spirit drops into the ocean to join the underworld. The Tangehiga, that is a process to respect the spirit and help guide the spirit to Hawaii, the ancestral/spiritual homeland. This process consists of rituals including karakia, prayers, and chants.
Now for some major figures. So I was going to include Maui. I saw that Colin had included him in the Hawaiian section. I realized I could have because they're sort of different heroes. So just one story I'd like to include of Maui real quick. The picture on this is of Maui. So the capturing the sun is also a Maori myth, but the one that distinguishes him in Maori is in Maori myth, he's the one that fished up the northern island of New Zealand. So that's the origin of New Zealand. But as the ones I have here, I have Tawahaki. Tawaki is betrayed by his brothers-in-law and his wife leave him. So he's married to a heavenly goddess. And his brother-in-laws betray him, beat him, rob him, and then his wife leaves him. And then he goes on a hunt to find his wife, and he finds this old blind woman. And she makes him perform her rituals, and then she becomes unblinded and points him towards the like a vine ladder up to heaven. And he has to manage his way through this vine ladder, and he's eventually reunited with his wife, Tango Tango. Rata is like the great canoe builder. His father was murdered, and then so he sets out to find his father's murderer, and along the way he finds this huge tree, and he tries turning it into a canoe. But every morning he wakes up, the canoe's rebuilt, the tree's rebuilt. So he has to end up performing the rituals of Tane, the god of the forest, in order for Tane's spirit elves, workers, to allow him to build the canoe. And then you have Hina Nui Tepo. She is the wife and daughter of Tane, and in some myths, so the ones you get from the New Zealand website, government website, she is the daughter of the first woman who Tane created, and she is also the wife of Tane, and she finds out that she is also his daughter, and she flees into the underworld. And in fleeing into the underworld, she becomes the goddess of death in the underworld. And human death enters when Maui tries to, or not enters, but is solidified when Maui tries to conquer her and is crushed when she wakes up. And that's why humans die.
Okay, so for the first tale, we have Kawariki and the Shark Man. So Titiria's family was captured by a tribe, and he worked as a slave. As he was left to work, his friends were trained to become future leaders. As he got older, his best friend was Kawariki, the daughter of a powerful leader, Madakite. Kawariki was banned from seeing Titiria as she trained to prepare for her future leadership role. Despite the two of them, they still exchanged messages and visited each other at night, and they began to fall in love. One night, Madakite followed her out and saw that she had been seeing Titira. Out of anger, he cast a spell onto him and turned him into a shark. Tane Mahuta sent Kawariki a vision of where to find him. When she found him, he was nearly dead. Kawariki dragged him back into the ocean and cried over him. Hina Amoana, the goddess of the ocean, filled her tears with magic, turning Titira back into a human once every new moon. They continued to meet up with each other, even though Kawariki's arranged marriage was approaching. On the day of the arranged marriage, Hina and Moana sent a wave that destroyed the visiting tribe's canoe out of spite of Madakite using his magic onto Tira. In his shark form, he saved everyone from the wave, and then Kawariki revealed their love. Madakite felt for his daughter and reversed the spell on Tatira, giving him a red shark tattoo. The two got married and lived their lives as respected leaders, and they had many children that had the same red shark tattoo. The second tale is Maui and the Great Fish. Maui always wanted to join his older brothers in fishing, but they would always tell him he was too young, too skinny, and they would always tease him. But Maui wanted to prove himself to be an amazing fisherman, so he made his own fishing line using a jawbone that one of his ancestors had given him. The next morning, he hid inside his brother's canoe. They took out the canoe out to the sea to fish, and when they were too far away from land, Maui revealed himself to his brothers. His brothers teased him, but he still persevered and explained to them that he will sing his chants as they fish. As they dropped down their fishing lines, and Maui sung his chants, the water immediately began filling up with fish, and they caught everything. The brothers were delighted and called themselves the best fishermen. Maui then brought out his handmade fishing lines, and the brothers again teased him. When Maui dropped his line, something took a hold of it and began dragging their canoe across the ocean. The brothers panicked and begged Maui to drop the line, as they thought they were going to drown. Maui held on tight and pulled the giant fish onto the surface. Maui told the brothers to keep an eye on the fish while he went to bring their people to the fish. The brothers began greedily digging and cutting into the fish, trying to claim pieces of it. The pieces that the brothers cut became the mountains and the landscape of Aotearoa. Maui's great giant fish became known as the North Island of Aotearoa, and the canoe became the South Island.